Nvidia fourth quarter earnings just now crossing the wire.
Big beat on the top and bottom line for Nvidia here in Q4. They posted revenue of $68.1 billion, EPS of $1.62. The estimate was for $1.53 and $65.8 billion in revenue. Once again, according to CFO Colette Kress.
While small amounts of H200 products for China-based customers were approved by the U.S. government, we have yet to generate any revenue, and we do not know whether any imports will be allowed into China. Our competitors in China, bolstered by recent IPOs, are making progress and have the potential to disrupt the structure of the global AI industry over the long term. To sustain its leadership position in AI compute, America must engage every developer and be the platform for choice for every commercial business, including those in China. Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and OpenAI Codex have achieved useful intelligence. Adoption is skyrocketing, and tokens are profitable, driving extreme urgency to scale up compute. Compute directly translates to intelligence and revenue growth. Analyst expectations for 2026 CapEx across the top 5 cloud providers and hyperscalers, who collectively account for a little over 50% of our data center revenue, are up nearly $120 billion since the start of the year and approaching $700 billion.
Hyperscalers had a little bit over 50% of that revenue. So those are the likes of Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Google. We all know that they have $650 billion worth of AI spending coming this year. Obviously, a lot of that will be going to Nvidia, as well as AMD, as far as Meta goes with their announcement just yesterday. One more thing I want to point out real quick. It's a little part of their business now, but it's gaming. That came in just shy of estimates of $4 billion. And obviously, that's just been kind of up and down. It's very seasonal when it comes to that category. And when they're going to come out with new cards, they haven't done that in the most recent year as they did it last CES in 2025. But a big beat for Nvidia here, and that's really, I think, what they needed as far as the stock price goes.
Let's get to more reaction from Nvidia's fourth quarter earnings results. From right now, we got Angelo Zino, Senior Vice President and Equity Analyst at CFRA, and Patrick Moorhead, Moor Insights and Strategy Founder, CEO, and Chief Analyst. Guys, welcome both. Patrick, I will start with you. This forecast, Patrick, I mean, they're calling for Q1 sales, they say. They're going to be about $78 billion. The consensus on Wall Street was more like $72.8 billion, so blows past consensus. What do you make of the report, the guide, Patrick?
Yeah, Josh, they crushed the guide, they crushed consensus, and they crushed the whisper number, which I had mentioned was $75 billion. So I'm actually surprised the stock's not up even more today. And it's clearly that demand is not an issue. It's the question. The demand is there. The question is how much, how quickly can they get this out? And I think what they proved is even for some of the more optimistic investors, they blew that away.
Angelo, bring you in here as well, because I know you tell your clients this isn't just a buy, it's a strong buy, Angelo. That's what you tell them. So your take on the print.
Yeah, I mean, I think Patrick laid it out, perfectly well. They crushed the numbers. The quarter, the guidance was great, and I think what I also noted, it essentially includes no China revenue in terms of the guidance. So again, I mean, I view this as fairly conservative guidance, if you can say that, despite the strong beat. So overall, I think it was great. You look at the margin numbers, mid-70s, which was what they had guided to for the January quarter. Again, what they're guiding to again in the April quarter. So overall, I mean, they're executing very well top line on the margins and the bottom line.
Patrick, as investors, you're going to make a beeline for that data center business, which they just crushed. I mean, 62.3 versus an estimate. The consensus was more like 60.36. How do you see that business evolving from here, Patrick? What do growth and margins look like?
I mean, Josh, glass half full and optimist is that AI is going to take over everything. And the only question is how much power we can get to our data centers to 2028 and beyond, right? And we already talked about the competitive angle here. The reality is we're sold out until the end of 2027, pretty much everywhere. So the 650 billion capex seems strong. Yes, they are getting into debt. Two of the hyperscalers will be negative cash flow, and people can either be concerned about that or they can view it as a once in a multi-decade opportunity to get the jump on their competitors and get into new markets that nobody thought about. The reason that SaaS is melting right now is there's a belief that the hyperscalers plus the model makers are going to be able to essentially create agents to replace SaaS. And if that's your thesis, you should be running into folks like Nvidia and Broadcom, AMD, companies like that, because they have the ability to get even bigger, even sooner. And the only challenge right now is high bandwidth memory, short term. Packaging is running into red lines, and then, like I said, power in 2028.
Angelo, NVIDIA does say here the guide does not assume any China data center compute. I'm just curious, Angelo, ultimately, what do you think the opportunity is for NVIDIA in China? What does that market look like for them?
I mean, it depends on what they're allowed to kind of sell into there, what the Chinese government allows on their end, and what the U.S. government allows on its end, right? I mean, you look at what AMD guided to. I mean, I think for Q1 they guided to only about 100 million. They had about 300 million or 98 million or so in Q4. So I think overall, both in Nvidia and AMD very cautious about the China landscape. I mean, ultimately, they should be able to easily pump out 5 billion plus a quarter in China. But again, it's one of those situations right now where you just don't know what the landscape is going to look like because of the geopolitical uncertainties from both sides. So it's really difficult, if not impossible, to really say what the potential is there, because at this point in time, we just don't know what is ultimately going to be allowed to be sold out there.
Angelo, how should I think as an investor about valuation for this name? NVIDIA trading here, it looks like at about 42 times forward earnings per Bloomberg.
I mean, what we did going into the print was, we've essentially got a 25 multiple on our 27 EPS estimate to get a 250 number. Now, clearly the numbers on our end, as well as the street, is going to go up after this print for both 26 and 27. So I would anticipate that there's potential upside there. But when you look historically where the stock trades, 25 is the low end of their historical range. So I'd say, given where the stock was trading kind of going into the print, about 19, 20 times next year's, we do see potential for upside here for the shares over the next 12 months, and notably so.
To Patrick's very good point, Angelo, are you surprised, given this print and this guide, the stock is even higher here in the after hours?
It's tough. I think right now, I think there are a lot of investors out there that really want to see the AI monetization side of things. They want to see those, they want to see the enterprise AI tools really start to ramp, and they want to see, I think it's really become a show me story, not necessarily on what NVIDIA can show in terms of sales and orders, backlog. I think it's more along the lines of what you can see in true end demand and how that ramps up here over the next couple of quarters into 2027. So I think this is one of those situations where investors are probably going to remain very skeptical on NVIDIA and this kind of broader AI infrastructure theme, and it'll be just a grind higher as you can continue to see, let's call it new use cases start to get unlocked on the AI side of things.
Patrick, final question to you. Let's say you're on the conference call, Patrick. Jensen and Colette, they come to you. You got the chance to ask them a question or two. What would be top of mind, Patrick?
I think top of mind for me would be HBM, the memory strategy. I mean, they're top of the heap for wafers. They're top of the heap for memory, along with companies like Broadcom. And the question is, what could they do to ramp it even quicker, right? And to the earlier conversation about downstream impacts, I think that NVIDIA of any company would have really good insights into that. We obviously track that, and we're seeing activity, but that activity needs to turn into increased revenue for the end users, decrease costs. We're seeing layoffs and things like that, and AI being used. But I think really going down that end user impact type of conversation. I mean, I think the stock, I differ a little bit as kind of what's going on right now. I think it is the overall risk of, and not necessarily the downstream impact, but it's what's going to happen next competitively. Where's the power? I'm sitting in these conferences and discussions with these hyperscalers, and there are concerns about bringing it together at this velocity. We went from a 3-year new product and then a rolling into the data center, the hyperscaler data center. Maybe they would take it, maybe they wouldn't, to 2 years to 1 year. And that is an execution nightmare. I'm surprised with these numbers where they are.